Hey everybody, welcome. We are going to be making classes today. Here's our main tab. We're going to kind of ignore that and go right into it and make a spaceship. So here we go. We're going to make a class. And remember, a class is a blueprint. It's not actually exactly what this thing will be, but it'll be the template upon which we can make these things. We'll see that a little bit later. So make my spaceship. Almost always by convention, not by requirements, we capitalize the name of a class. Just allows us to keep it separate from what a variable's name is or a function's name. Almost actually universally across every organization that I can think of, you just have to do that. Although the compiler will not care at all. But that's for humans, not for computers. So here's our class spaceship, and we're going to make our three things that every class needs. Oh man, do you guys remember those three things? I got 1, 2, 3. Every class is going to need three things. Anybody remember what the first, or any of them, really? What do you think? What do classes need? Kate, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so there's like an act function, and there can actually be more than just that, although that's sort of what the main one. We usually did show and act, right? Those are called behavior functions. Behavior functions. So those are the classic things like that we did last year: void show, void act. We used act because everything does something, and that was just a good general word for our bullet hell game, where you could just say it acts. So a bullet's act, or a spaceship's act, or a asteroids act. Like you can just kind of summarize its emotions and movements in there. In a more complex class, you might have many functions, behavior functions, or act might be broken down into sub-functions or something like that. But we'll probably be able to just do this. There's this behavior functions. What objects of this type will do? So that's good. What else? We'll go from the bottom up. Yeah, constructor. Woohoo! Constructor. My kids are into Transformers, and I always think of that as a good Transformer name. Although the construction robots transform into Devastator, which is a nice dichotomy there. The constructing robots, separate build things. When they combine together, they destroy. Oh man, that's just like civilization right there in like a nutshell. Very deep, very deep. So a constructor is a special function that looks a little bit different than regular functions, and its job is to initialize the variables when you make an object of this class. So we don't actually have variables yet, but we'll get this set up here. So the way that this function works, the constructor, you have to have the same name as the class, including punctuation. Including capitalization, and no, I can't actually press space anymore. Anyone who does processing on a Mac knows my pain. Why can't I press space anymore? I don't know. I can do it if I go up and down. Watch, I can play this little game where I go up and down. I can press more spaces. It's really dumb. Gonna do it anyways. There. Because I care about indentation. So, so same name as the class, and it has no void or no return type. There's the proper way of saying that. No return type. So it looks like this. Instead of void spaceship, it's just spaceship. But then it has all the other trappings of a class, and so of a function. So it's got those parentheses for parameters, which we won't use right now. And then the braces to say, here's what's going on when we construct an object that is a spaceship. All right, number one. The number one thing. I like how we kind of went backwards. 3, 2, 1. What's the number one thing here? Variables. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and in computer science, these are often called instance variables or fields. That's another one. Instance variables mean these are the variables that each instance of this class will get. So every time you make an object that is a spaceship class object, it will get its own separate copies of the variables that you describe up here in the space above the constructor. So if you give it life, then each spaceship will have its own separate life, or maybe hit points might be a better description for that. So you can make 10 spaceships, and you can shoot one, and only its hit points will be reduced. The other 9 will still be just as healthy. So you don't have to make hit points 1, hit points 2, hit points 3, hit points 4. You just make a spaceship object, and it comes pre-packaged with all those good variables that you want. So we're going to have some variables for our spaceship. So we probably have things, I guess we already mentioned it, like life. I don't know. I guess in this game, in Asteroids, there's no hit points. You just die, which is fairly realistic for space. Because if you like have any like small hole appear in your spaceship, it's over. You're toast, unless you could like seal it with some sort of like crazy sealing mechanism or something. But yeah, it's not a good situation. And tiny micrometeorites are like super deadly to spaceships. Never mind giant asteroids that crash into your spaceship. So I'm just gonna make lives, I think. And lives, you don't really have. Well, I guess if you're playing Zelda, you sort of have 3.5 lives and that kind of stuff. At least old school Zelda games. I don't know about modern ones. So I'm just gonna make an int for lives. I'll just keep track of how many lives we have. We'll put it into the spaceship. And then we'll have probably a location. We're using p vectors. There's another chance to jump in on those p vectors if that didn't make too much sense. So a p vector called location. We'll have a p vector called velocity. And I don't know. I can't think of much else. What else do we need? Is there anything else? This would be a good start. Anyways, if we think of other things, we can always come back and add them in. Our spaceship will be good to go. Anything else you can think of? No? Me neither. Might just be Tuesday morning. I don't know. All right, let's do it. So now we got our variables. So our constructor's job is to initialize those variables. Give them their initial values, their first values when we first start playing the game. And then we can write some behavior functions to draw the spaceship in the show function in the right place. And then the act function will be about doing the actions that the spaceship will have. Eventually it'll be able to shoot, but we don't have bullets yet, so we'll postpone that. It should be able to fly, though. We could build that flying into act. So that'll be decent. Okay, so spaceship. Let's initialize our values. So lives, I don't know what classic Asteroids lives are. I'm going to guess 3. Yeah, Xavier knows. Yeah, it's almost for sure 3. It's like some unwritten rule in, I don't know what the original game manufacturers were. Whatever. Yeah, Atari was the console. It's like some like Intellivision or something. Activision, which is now like huge and like owns Blizzard and stuff like that. Like they're huge, but like Activision started out making like Space Invaders and stuff, which were their own amazing success at the time, but a far cry from the modern games. But Lives, I think was 3 is pretty much enshrined in a lot of things. And then we got our location. Where should we start? Our asteroid ship, our spaceship. Center sounds good to me. So, hey, how do you initialize a p-vector? This might be something that's quite new. So normally we say x equals 300, y equals 300 when we use float x and y. Now we're going to have to instantiate or create a new p-vector. Vector, yes. And then its location is going to be 300 for the x and 300 for the y. That's how we get a starting location. And our velocity, it's also going to be sort of our direction. I don't think we'll apply our velocity unless we press like the up arrow or something like that. We'll just give it a direction for now. I don't know what a good value is for this at the moment. So I'll just say a new p-vector. I'll make it point to the right. So that would be 0y, so it's not going up and down at all, and just positive number for the right. So I'll choose 1, 0. 1's a good number because then you can just multiply it by something. You can rotate it and then multiply it by a thing and then just extend it however long you want it to be. So this is pointing to the right. Anybody, I'm not sure why that would be pointing to the right. Anyone want to cover that really quick? Or are you guys like, oh yeah, pointing to the right? No problem. Anybody? Yeah? Yeah, that would be degree 0, which is why I'm choosing it to be pointing to the right. Because then our angles are also a little bit easier to do. Yeah, anybody want to cover that? No? Okay. Sounds good. If you're like, but I wish I really wanted to, but I didn't have the energy to nod my head this morning, or maybe I was nodding my head vigorously and Mr. Pelletier didn't have the energy to notice, then feel free to ask me one-on-one anytime. All right, so there's our initial values. Show function, I'm going to invite you guys to draw your own spaceship, whatever you want to do. You want to make a triangle? You want to download a picture of a spaceship? I'd like to download a picture of a spaceship. I'll just remind you, if you do that, you probably need to find a PNG or something that supports transparency. It looks like Spaceship. Here's how I would search for a spaceship image. Trust me, I have 6-year-old boys. I know how to search for spaceships. That is a skill that I have. So I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to search Color and Transparent. Because we don't want like a white background on our spaceship as it rotates or something like that. And then we want sort of a top down. Oh, that Millennium Falcon looks pretty good. But we want kind of top down. I'm going to put in Spaceship, top down. Oh, there's some good spaceships. And you know what? I really like the ones that are facing to the right. We're going to, if they're not, if you find a spaceship's not facing to the right, we're going to have to rotate it in some way to make it face to the right, because that's our initial direction. And that's also angle 0. So it kind of makes sense to make it face to the right. Although I'm noticing that most are facing up, which is, I wouldn't use the word unfortunate, but it will require a little bit more work. So, oh yeah, so many good spaceships. Gosh, I don't know. Why is this girl in here? That's kind of weird. Google's algorithms are crazy. I don't know. I'll take this one. What do you think? It's not, I'm going because it's a little bit brighter. Maybe the blue one here. Those are pretty nice. Either way, just grab a spaceship. I'll stop being picky and just go with this blue one here. And look, it is transparent, which is fantastic. And oh, you know, a square spaceship actually would be a little bit easier, wouldn't it? Square is easier to hit detect as opposed to rectangular. So maybe I'll switch that up. Yeah, Harry.
If it's pointing up, could you just like set the vector as?
Yeah, thanks, Harry. Such a good question. So Harry's saying, you know, if it's pointing up, what's the big deal? We could just put our vector facing up, and that's totally true. But that angle is then 90 degrees. I guess we could just deal with that. So yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. We could just be like, yeah, it's facing 90. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we should just go facing up because everything seems to be facing up and just deal with it. That's where I put my sunglasses on and memify. Yeah, let's try it. Yeah, I like it, Harry. Let's try it. Let's just make I'll go back to my code. Let's make it pointing up. Skill testing question. What is pointing up? What's that, right? 3? Needs 2 numbers. 3 could be involved. 9? 90. Oh, 90 degrees. Yeah, but in terms of our vector, what numbers do I have to put in here? 0 for x. And then going up, yeah, because it gets smaller would be -1. Yeah, I know, right? Upside down y-axis is always kind of frustrating. Pretty sure that's right. We'll find out in a minute, I guess, if it's right. Now just grab a picture. You're going to want to download this to your sketch folder, and if you're like me, you haven't saved your sketch yet, so let's just go and save it. So we have a sketch folder. I've been saving my things in a folder here. I'm going to call it Asteroids. And then let's grab that picture. I'm so torn. I feel your struggles. I know sometimes students like can't progress until they get like the perfect spaceship, and I'm like, I'm really like that too. I'm gonna go with this orange one. I like orange. I'm into orange. Oh, I'm gonna right click on it and actually open an image in new tab. I find this is the best way to like get the actual picture. And there it is. Pretty sure. I'll go save image as. And then I'll go to my sketch folder. Where is it? Desktop. You might notice I'm saving on the desktop. Remember, you should not save on the desktop. I'm on my own computer that's not connected to the school network, so you guys should save in your documents folder. I'm going to save this as not orange ship 3. I'm just going to call it ship.png. Save. Okay. Now this is something we haven't done for a while, so you might be like, how do I get the picture of the spaceship in there? So we do have to load the picture of the spaceship. You could build this into the class if you wanted to, but if we made multiple copies of the ship, then each copy would have to load the picture separately, which is a little bit of a waste. Of course, we are only going to have one ship, so it doesn't really matter, but I think it's good practice to do this correctly. So I'm going to go to my main tab. Everybody with me? You might still be looking for your spaceship, so sorry if I'm interrupting. maybe just take a look up here and then I'll pause for a bit. I'm going to go to my main tab. I'm going to make a pimage variable. That's what stores pictures. I'll call it ship pic. Sounds kind of weird, actually. People are kind of giggling. I'm like, I'm not sure why that sounds kind of weird, but shippic. Just saying it out loud is just kind of like, I'm kind of weirded out by it, actually. What's a better name? Help me here. I'm going with shippic. It's just fun to say. I don't know. It seems to be making people laugh, so what's wrong with that? Shippic. My son is so adorable. He recently came home and was like, he had learned some dirty words on the playground, but he misunderstood it. So he's like, he went to say the S word, but he has never heard that. He heard it on the playground, but he heard it as ship. So I forget how he said. He said, "What the ship?" And he just threw it out there for no reason. Just tried it on. It was just sitting at the dinner table. And just what the ship? Which isn't even the correct uses of the S word. So he really messed it up. And we were like, what? It just was so funny. And then, I don't know. But that's, okay, actually, while I'm on the topic of dirty words my children have said, please indulge me one more. This is so funny. I don't know how this happened, but in his kindergarten class, the shampoo brand Pantene became a dirty word. And then they call each other Pantene. It's so funny. He'd be like, you Pantene. And I'm like, why did this brand of shampoo become like a mean word? I couldn't even understand it. It was so weird. Kindergarten kids are weird. And they would just be shouting it out, Pantene. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't know. Totally more entertaining than anything I've ever seen. 6-year-olds. I highly recommend them. Anyways, we're going to get our ship pic going on. So we got to load ship pic before we go any further. Because ship pic doesn't just automatically get a picture of a ship in it just because we named it ship pic. we have to load it. So we load it this way. Ship pic equals load image. Yeah, load image is the file. Oh, sorry, the function we use to load from file. And we are going to load up ship.png. That's what I called mine. This only works if this file is in the sketches folder. So do please make that happen. And then I'll actually be able to use this ship pic over here in Spaceship. But maybe I'll just give you a second to catch up. I'm going to name my ship object Pantene.
The background's probably going to be black, right? So we want something fairly bright.
Yeah, I'm thinking something fairly bright. That's why I chose an orange spaceship.
Okay, yeah.
But there's no reason you couldn't make it a white background. We all need to get familiar with the white hole object in space, because Captain Marvel gets her powers from a white hole as opposed to a black hole. Whoa, what happened to my projector? But I have no real understanding of that. I don't even know if it's a real thing or Marvel just invented something. It's like the other side of a black hole. Pretty sure we don't know anything about the other side of a black hole, if there even is such a thing. Anyways, hopefully you got that. Other way, I'm going to go on. So if you're not quite done, cast your eyes up here, because we're going to go and make the ship pic show up. That's going to be in our show function. And I'm just going to draw the image. But I'm going to use the image function, but I'm going to draw the image ship pic at 0, 0, which might be a little bit confusing, because we're going to use translate to move the origin to the ship's location, and then we'll draw it at the origin. So we're always going to use 0, 0 to draw the image. I still have to... I haven't quite figured... I was all set to make it face that way, so now I got to really rethink it, but it doesn't matter. We're good. And then I'm going to translate first. So we're going to need the push and pop matrix so that we don't upset all the other things locations. We're going to translate to location.x. location.y. Draw our picture. We'll probably have a rotate in here in a while. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why we need it. I'm not sure what's going to happen when we rotate to 90 if we're going to spin the ship around. And then I'm going to pop matrix. That's okay. We'll solve it together. I'll leave the rotate out for a minute, but I'm going to put a comment in there. Just say I'm going to rotate at some point to a place. And then our act function will eventually put in all that stuff we did last class with the keyboard input and things. I'll leave you guys to kind of work on that a little bit later. But let's just get the spaceship showing up. So that's our show function. Act will eventually include all the code for, if you're pressing up key or down key or left key or right key, manipulate the rotation of the spaceship and so on. But this is just half of the story. The class itself doesn't mean anything happens. Like I got this wonderful class, and if I run it, no spaceship shows up. Nothing. And the answer is, or why that is because it's just a class. It's a blueprint. We haven't built the spaceship from the blueprint yet. So let's build the spaceship. I'm going to have a variable that is of this type. We have class spaceship, right? So now we can make spaceship variables, which is pretty amazing. And it's going to be called Pantene. I'm gonna do it. I don't even know how to spell Pantene. Anyone know? Is that right? Yeah. Pantene users out there. Here we go, Pantene. This lesson was brought to you by Procter and Gamble, I guess. There we go, Pantene. This is too weird. I'm gonna get my head in the game here. It's just a ship. It's a ship. There we go. All right. So then we have our ship. Feel free to make it whatever brand of shampoo you use. All right, so our ship, we actually have to do something with it. Just because we have that variable there doesn't actually make the ship. It's the new keyword that makes the ship. So we can go ship equals new spaceship, and that's the constructor right there. That's calling the constructor. Recognize it? Yeah, looks just like the constructor. Woohoo. So that means our spaceship is going to get 3 lives, a location, and a velocity. And let's see, does it show up? How do we get the spaceship to show up? Well, we call its act functions in the draw. So I'll say ship.show, and ship.act won't do anything, but eventually we'll want ship.act in there. So I'll just run that and see if it shows up. Oh, almost. Pretty good. But what's a little bit weird about that? I meant it to be in the center, right? So, although that's a lovely spaceship, it's also a little bit on the big side. I'm going to just adjust it a little bit. So, first of all, it's the default place where images are drawn is the top left corner is lined up with the center. So, in void setup, I'm going to set image mode to center. So, if I run that, I'll get the location lined up with the center of the picture. And then it's a little bit on the big side. Totally going to go change that spaceship to something else. But you can deal with it. You can tell the ship pick to resize. So I'll say ship pick dot resize. And you can just choose new size for it. I don't know if there's like a scale down function off the top of my head, but I'm just going to give it some numbers. I'm going to say 100 by 100, which will make it kind of squat. But I'm all right with that. Still, it seems a little bit on the big side for Asteroids. That just makes the game hard. I'm okay with it being hard. Maybe I'll make it a bit smaller. The smaller you make it, the more pixely it'll get. So just be aware of that. Lose out on some detail. That seems fine to me. All right, so I'll throw in a background because it's supposed to be space, and I'm not liking the gray background. Background 0. See if there we go. That's looking a little more spacey to me. Looks pretty dark on the projector, but for me it looks okay on my screen, so I'm just going to go ahead with it. All right, so I got a spaceship, and I have, the ability to show it, and things are sort of set up for it to move around, but we're missing some stuff, and that's going to be where you guys are going to jump in now. So last class we talked about how to rotate that rectangle around, right? Or a square. A square had lines coming out of it. We used the keyboard input stuff, so we made key press, key release. And we had the Boolean variables for the keys, up, down, left, right, and so on. And then we worked on making that stuff happen. So I'll just do a quick review of that because I think I still have it here on my screen. Yeah, it's right here. I haven't closed it since we last did it. It's been just running this whole time. We'll just take a look at that quickly just to remind you. I'll full screen it. How do I do that? There we go. So the story is that, we are... Oh, actually, no, this is a little bit different. This isn't the rotation stuff. I guess I don't have that. But we could at least take a look at the key press stuff in case anybody forgets how to do that. So you're going to have to make this. What tab do you put this in? It doesn't really matter. You could make a new tab for the key stuff. You could just put it in the main tab as my preference. And you're going to have key pressed, key released. Remember to use key code if you're using keys that don't have a character that types. If you're using keys that do have a character that types, like WASD, then you just use key. And double equals to check what the character is that is been, or the key that's been typed. And you just are managing these Boolean variables, setting them to true or false depending on if the key was pressed or the key was released. And then the functions that you're going to be needing to use are going to be rotating p vectors. So when you're pressing left and right, you're going to want to rotate velocity by a certain amount. So I'll just put some of these up here for you to take a look at. I'm not going to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I'll just kind of let you think about it, and we can see what it is later on. But you can rotate velocity dot rotate, and then don't think anyone went home and learned radians over the weekend. I could be wrong, but we know degrees, right? Better than radians. If you know radians, you can go ahead and slide some radians in here. But I think most people, if you want to rotate 5 degrees, you sort of know what that means. So you could put in 5, but to make that mean something to processing, you have to wrap it in radians like this. Oops. So that'll convert 5 degrees to radians. And then it'll believe you, or it'll do what that means. 5 radians is a lot different than 5 degrees, as it turns out. So yeah, throw that together. That'll allow for a rotation, and then in order to get this is going back to the rotate. You have to rotate to where the velocity is pointing, and this is where our decision to make it stand up will like go straight up and down. This will become a little bit more challenging. So when we want to rotate, it's going to be about getting the heading of the vector. So that's like asking what angle is the vector facing. And so that would be velocity dot heading. But we're going to have to deal with something. I'm not sure how that's going to work. That might rotate us 90 degrees. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to deal with that. We could always subtract off 90 degrees to get it to line up. So we'll see. If it turns out it's better to like just make it face to the right and just rotate the picture, we might go back and do that. Because we could just leave it alone if it was facing to the right. So we'll decide. So keys should rotate. Also, when we go to like make our spaceship fly, that's probably going to be the up arrow or something. I don't know. Up arrow seems good, or W, whatever key you want to use. That's when we're going to do location dot add velocity. So we'll actually change our location by adding velocity to it. And I think that'll be good. So velocity is really only applying when we press a certain key. So these are sort of the pieces of the puzzle. And now I'm going to kind of back off and let you guys think about that and work on it. And then I'm going to give you guys a good chunk of time just to try it. And if you get frustrated with something, call me over. But take a look at the code we did last class. See what you can make of it. And see if you can put it together with this. Ultimately, it would be awesome to get a spaceship flying, but feel free to have it like working in all sorts of different stages. So if you can get it to, when you press the keys, to spin around, or you press like up or space or something, fly in that direction, then fantastic. You did it well. But you're going to have all sorts of little problems that will result as you go forward. So just do your best and see what you can come up with. Okay, everybody? So I'll save that, and I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to start uploading it right now.